There's a couple things that I pulled together just making these. One, for those who aren't familiar with like the 20/80 grade scale, I just wanted to go through that, and then also like some people don't. I don't want to like I don't want this to sound negative. I don't think some people understand like how important age is at the level you're performing at in the minors. So I wanted to at least touch on that. So when we go through the prospect list, which I took from MLB.com, you can use what like they will differ slightly from wherever you want to get, whether that's Fangraphs, Baseball Perspective, Baseball America. They all differ. I just chose this because I like their setup, and frankly, it was easier to screenshot. So these can all be different, and a lot of these haven't updated yet. They will probably update just after the draft, but as we're leading into the draft, it's probably a good time to go into it. So I just wanted to just very briefly just kind of share some context for everyone. Just context for age of minor leagues. This is a little dated. Jeff Moore wrote this for when Baseball Perspective, I think, wasn't even called Baseball Perspective or Baseball Prospectus, or it was Fangraphs. I can't remember. I think it was like Baseball Think Tank is when he actually wrote this in 2013. However, an average age for a AAA player is around 26. Now that inflates it because you have a lot of pseudo like quad A players who are either have been in the majors going down or just kind of like roster depth. Double A, the median age for a double A player is 24. That is really like the high end development. Once you're in triple A, you're like a good hot streak away from being in the majors, but the last like key development area is double A. You will probably spend a fair amount of your prospectum, if you have any promise, in double A the longest. For high A, it's just under 23, and for low A, it's just under 21 and a half years. Again, it might have changed slightly in the 12 years since it was written, but that should at least give you a decent idea. Secondarily, there is a really weird grading scale for baseball prospects. I don't know why, but they chose to start from 20 and end at 80. If you have any, like if you're overall prospect or you have individual tools, they all kind of grade the same. But if you are ranked 20 to 30 on that scale, you are well below average. If you're 40, you're below average. If you have a 50 tool or overall prospect grade, you're average. You are projected to be an average major league player. 60 is above average. 70 and 80, we're talking MVP level. 60 might be like an all-star range. So don't know how many people really needed that, but I thought it would at least be kind of worth to talk about, just to kind of talk at the top. So what we'll do is we'll talk. I looked at Keith Law's list from The Athletic, who did like a ranking of the farm systems in general, and then we will just go into. I then looked at the team's top 100 prospects from MLB.com, and then I just picked their top 6 because it fit nicely on the slide. It's the only reason I picked the 6. I will show the stats, but we'll also talk about their 20/80 grades if anybody cares to talk about that. But I thought we would first start with Cleveland, but first I wanted to read Keith Law's blurb about them that he wrote in February of this year. So again, he'll update this just after. So the Guardians he had ranked in their second tier, 5th overall, and the Guardians have a reputation as a premium developer for pitching, which they have earned after successes of guys like Bieber, Bibee, and who's Bobby Beebe? That has to be sarcasm? Yes, no Bobby Beebe, right?
Yeah, that has to be like just a joke on the names that precede it.
Okay, I'm going to go with
Yeah.
that. As of right now, their system is stacked with bats, and they're going to need to stay contenders to improve in improving in the AL Central. 9 of their top 10 prospects right now are hitters, 6 of whom are in the top 100, and that's his top 100. He does a lot of his own prospects. That isn't the list that I pulled from. And the remaining pitching prospects are back-end starters, which don't have much velocity. Well, not yet. Why not yet? Dan, why don't you explain what Cleveland has been doing for the last decade with their pitching prospects?
They teach velocity and spin, and they're very good at it. They find strike throwers, and that's what they teach them. to put it simply.
But how exciting that they actually have like bats. And that actually does kind of translate to what MLB.com thinks is these are all of the players that now show up on their top 100 prospect lists. Last year's first round pick, Bonanza, and then you have DeLauer, Churio. I don't even want to pronounce, I don't know how to pronounce that. Dan, how do you say that?
I believe that's Ganau.
Ganau, and then
Angel
Would not
Ganau.
have been
Yeah.
my guess.
Angel.
Is it Angel Ganau?
So, Dan, why don't you talk a little bit about Bonanza, or Bazana. Sorry.
Bazana. Yeah.
Bazinga.
Travis Bazzano is the first overall pick in last year's draft. He went to Oregon State. However, he is originally from Australia. He actually has played professional baseball previous to being in the minors when he actually played in the Australian League for a handful of games when he was a teenager. But he is a second baseman who is like I've talked about kind of the profile that the Guardians look for. Bat to ball guys, middle infielders, and outfielders that are athletic and they feel like they can teach positions and teach to hit for power. He is like the super version of that. In that, he showed some power in college and they think they can continue to build on that, but also, was able to hit for contact. Obviously, as a number one overall, got all 5 tools. And the thing with him is there was a thought that maybe he would make the team this year at the end of the year, maybe get a cup of coffee in the majors, maybe help with a postseason push. But he got injured earlier this spring, this late spring into the summer, and that's probably going to stunt his development for this year. So I don't suspect we'll see him yet.
His best tool is his hit tool. Grades out as a 70, decent power, 55 overall, and then can run a little bit. Everything else is just kind of average. His overall prospect grade is a 60, so looks like he's kind of on track with that. His average isn't stellar, but that's fine. Nobody really cares about that. His on-base percentage, though, I think is pretty healthy for...
He was also really heavily favored as the first overall pick for Cleveland because he is very much a student of the game. I guess he did really well when they were kind of interviewing him, talking about kind of all the tech and development tools that the Guardians use. He's just very savvy and interested in kind of the sabermetric side of things as well. And I think I thought of that because of on base. He also has a great batting eye, and I think that's part of the package there.
Sure. And also, like, in the low minors, like, pitchers don't know where the hell the ball's going.
Yeah, makes it a little bit easier to get that high OBP. But hey, he could be swinging and chasing, and he's not.
Yeah. DeLauer, I'll just go over his prospect grades. He's overall a 55 graded outfield prospect. He's 23 in AAA right now. Hit power, hit tool is 60, power is 60, and everything else, well, honestly, it's 50, 60 in field as far as run, arm, and then field. So pretty decent prospect. He has to be close. No?
DeLauer's biggest issue has been health as well. He was their first round pick in 2022, 16th overall. As you were saying, hits for both power and average. He just literally needs to stay healthy. He's had a number of foot injuries coming into this year. And then, be honest with you, I forget what he injured this year, but he missed the start of the season. He has gotten to AAA this year in 23 games. He's got a 961 OPS. And so he's hitting. And that is an outfield that is devoid of guys that are hitting right now. I think the goal was always for him to see the field in the majors this year, and I think that's probably going to happen before the season's over. I know Chris Antonetti was the Indian Guardians president was interviewed during one of the games the other day, and they just want to see him get to a point where he's playing enough days in a row where they feel like he's healthy and it's sustained for a little bit, and then I think we're going to see him.
Moving on, I'm assuming that's another Churio brother, right?
Yeah, that's one of the Churio brothers. He's a little bit further, down on the farm there at Double A or
20,
High A.
Yep.
20 years old, and on his end of things, I think just 5-tool guy. A little bit. I'm a little bit more fuzzy on him just because he's a little bit,
Yeah. His
lower
overall
on the totem
prospect
pole.
grade is a 55. Hit tool is 60. Power 45. We'll see. I mean, he's 6'1", 162 pounds. He can develop power. He's only 20
Yeah,
years old. Runs pretty fast, but that'll probably switch if he does add on muscle. Decent arm, decent in the field.
yeah, just kind of fits their profile for an athletic guy that they think that they can develop.
Angel, our favorite. He'll probably be an all-star now just because like we didn't know how to say him. He'll make us ruin this.
Are we sure it's Angel? Maybe it's on Hell because I've heard
Lee,
Angel.
we can't mess up everything at once. We can actually. We can mess it up. Let us have this. It probably is on hell. But you're right, 100%.
Genau is somebody that's just well. Go ahead, Eric.
Uh, Overall prospect grade 55. Best tool is his hit tool. Almost a carbon copy of Churio. Low power, decent run, decent arm, decent field.
Again, middle infielder. They think they can turn athletes into third basemen, right fielders, whatever it is they feel like they need to. And hit tool, another guy that puts bat to ball, makes good swing decisions. They think they can teach to hit for power.
Also a switch hitter.
Also a switch hitter. Another thing that they love, Jose Ramirez, Brian Rocchio, amongst others. I'm kind of blanking now, unfortunately, but that is part of the profile as well when they can get it.
Yeah. CJ Kieth in AAA right now. He's 23 years old. Overall prospect, he's a 55. Hit tool, 55. That's his best. His worst tool is just everything else is a 50. So power, kind of weird for a corner outfielder, but we'll see. What's his slugging? He's hitting his slugging percentage this year is 577. So clearly that's not holding him back.
Kafis is another guy that I think the fans are starting to clamor for to come to the bigs. He's had an awesome year at AAA. Slash line 306, 378, 572, 9 home runs in 173 at bats. And, profiled as a solid contact guy, as you were saying. I think there was a little bit of concern that he was going to be a first baseman only in the majors, but they've taught him some right field, and I think that could be a potential opportunity for him as well. And he's another guy that I would actually prefer to see him before DeLauder just because he swung it so well at AAA for a longer period of time.
And then just rounding out the top six, and again, the only reason they're six is because it fit nicely on two slides. Ralphie Velasquez, 20 years old in high A. First base prospect, best tool is power. Decent hit. His fielding is 40, which is probably why he's 20 years old and already playing first base. So I'm assuming he's going to have to mash in order to get to the majors.
Yeah, Velasquez bucks the trend here a little bit, obviously, kind of being a counterexample to everything else described. But they like him for his power, and there's an opportunity down the line for first base to open up, or even DH, and that's where his role would be. I think it's very telling that really good organization, highly ranked. He's their sixth prospect, even with those deficiencies in the field.
I muted myself. That's good for me. So, question you're not prepared for. As we're approaching the trade deadline, it's looking like, we're going to assume every team is going to buy, because why not?
Sure.
Which of those six do you think is the most likely, not saying they will be traded or that the chances are high for any of them, but which of those six is most likely to be traded?
I would think it would be the guys that are kind of further away from the bigs. I think one of Churio or Genau could be traded. I would prefer Genau because we just have so many of them middle infielders already that we could kind of use. And I just think Churio's just because of his lineage is a little bit more of an interesting prospect. That very well may be a reason to shop him, though. I think it's got to be one of those two, though, just at face value.
What would you, and again, this is impossible to predict, so I'm asking everyone to do the impossible, and it's not like I thought of this just now, so everyone else can think about these. What would you expect to get in return? Fourth
Jeez.
starter, or should I come back to you?
Um, expect to get back in return an outfielder that can play every day and similar to Lane Thomas, but better than he's been
Fair
this
enough.
year, if you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
somebody that they can plug in. It doesn't have to be an all-star, but a guy that's gonna have a 110 OPS, play the outfield adequately. That kind of for one of those guys, that's what I think I'd expect. And it kind of they traded Jose Tena, who was a maybe like a sixth or seventh ranked prospect last year for Thomas. So
Mhm.
maybe a little bit better actually than what I'm saying, but somewhere in that realm.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That was an unfair question for me to ask, because who the f knows what they're going to get,
Yeah.
and there would be more like
Now,
multiple.
if we're talking about trading DeLauder or Bazana, a lot more than that. And I actually would be okay with them as I think about it for a minute, given his injury history. I wouldn't be upset if we traded DeLauder. I think a lot of people would be because the next big thing, shiny toy you have in the minors is always what everybody wants.
Yeah.
I think I'd be okay with it just because I just don't know that that guy's going to stay on the field.
Yeah. It all depends on what you get back.
Yeah, for the right price, sorry, Chase, I'd be willing to sell you.
Moving on, Detroit was, according to Keith Law, in earlier this year, they were the seventh overall farm system, still in his tier two. I understand this is probably a low bar, so sorry. This is the only negative we can say about the Tigers probably this whole season. This has to be the best Tiger system I've ever written up. Probably the best since their minors had guys like Justin Verlander, Curtis Granderson, Cameron Maybin, and maybe 20 years ago. They're drafting better and developing better. They've made very few shrewd trades. The Jack Flaherty one really stands out as a winner. And they seem to be targeting some more polished hitters and on the international market to get guys to fit better with their player development regime. This is a huge turnaround over from when the pandemic hit. Lee, does that track?
It tracks. It very much does. Dave Dombrowski, general manager before Al Avila, he would trade away the prospects all the time to get star players. Like, very fair. But that also meant we didn't have a farm system. Al Avila, great at drafting. I think we can give him that. But the player development was awful. And so those players never developed into guys. So
Yeah.
but Scott Harris, ever since Scott Harris took over, it's been looking a lot better. We've had our players develop a lot better,
Yeah.
and he's made some looks like good draft picks.
Okay. At the start of this year, they had 5 top 100 prospects, leading off with Max Clark. And then we'll just kind of go into their top 6 overall prospects. But yeah, Max Clark, more than a couple years away. Yeah, actually, just a couple years away. And then another guy whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce. No one's
Kevin
really
McGonigal.
close, which is kind of
McGonigal.
scary, but that makes sense if they just recently started drafting and developing well. So we'll just
Yeah.
move on. Speaking of Max Clark, he was their top pick in 2023. He's just overall his best overall tool. He has a 70 graded run. Everything else is 60, except for his power, which is still projected to be an average power hitter. Lee, what do you know about Max Clark?
Yeah, so he's looking to be a good 5-tool player. He plays center field a lot. He's got good defense. He runs fast. He hits the ball pretty well. His power hasn't really come in as much, but he still has a good amount of power, and hits. He's hitting 267 right now, so it makes a lot of good contact, makes good power and good outfielder, good defense. So it's looking like a really good 5-tool player that we're getting. Also, he has a very big social media presence and is very much online a lot. He's got a lot of personality. 97.1 described him as the type of player that if he wasn't on your team, you'd probably hate because he's annoyingly good and also got a lot of flair to it. So look forward to that, guys. It's not in a bad way because he's a good
Yeah,
guy. It's just he's very loud about it.
yeah,
So
that's fine.
right after he was drafted, he made these cleats where one of them had positive comments from the internet and another had negative comments from the internet. And that was pretty funny. Like
Oh,
just
that's
reactions to his draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of people didn't like that we drafted a high schooler, in the 5th overall or whatever it was.
Which is
So
because like it was the first year of like the player the lottery for MLB. It was the first year that they did that, and there were 5 good players, and the Twins slid up to the 5th pick, and it was a 5-player draft. That was the Paul Skeens, that was the Wyatt Langford, Max Clark, Walker Jenkins, and I'm blanking on the 5th name if anyone can think of that. While I'm struggling, but yeah, it was literally 5. So if they had a problem, like by the time the Tigers picked, what did they pick? 3rd? Yeah, battle. It doesn't matter. They only really had 2 high schoolers to pick from. So if you were upset over that, they could have just taken a worse player. Next up, Kevin McGonigal. Is that like?
yeah, it's McGonagall.
It's
McGonagall.
so like Harry Potter McGonagall.
Yes.
Oh, he's going to be very popular.
Oh yeah, people are already trying to get him to be known as like the professor, but like I'm like, no, you're trying too hard for that.
Nope, they're not at all. So he is a 55 overall prospect. His best tool is his hit. He has 65 overall. Decent everywhere else. Slightly above run. Everything else is grades at 50.
So he's probably he's in the same draft as Clark was. People think that Clark will probably be the better overall player, but McGonagall has the potential to be the best hitter in terms of because so his sample size is a little bit small. He started off the season injured. I think it was like a twisted ankle or something. But right now in 33 games, he has a 366 batting average with a 1.126 OPS. He hits so much. He's got a good amount of power too, but he has a ridiculous on-base percentage right now, 459. He gets on base a lot. He has a ridiculous hit streak going on right now. He will get 3, 4, 5 hits a game. And he is really looking like a great hitter. He's probably going to make it up to AAA this year, I'd say. There's even a lot of people being like, maybe we could pull him up to the Tigers, but I think it's a little much. But he is that good.
He's in high A right now. Let's and 20
he's
years old. Let's cool that.
Yeah, that's my reaction. But like he's hitting very well right now. So he's very exciting. He's probably not gonna stay at short the whole way. Probably gonna go to second, but his defense is fine. But the best thing about him is he hits very well. And then I had us go to number 4 instead of number 3, just because these guys are all on the Whitecaps right now in high A. And I want to talk about kind of them as a set a little bit.
How do you, Jose?
I think it's Josue. Briseño.
Briseño. Okay. Well, also 20 years old, 6'4". He's a big boy. Overall 55. Power is what he's going to come. A below average runner, below average fielder. That makes sense because he's already playing first. He's not going to play catcher if he's already playing first. Decent arm, but yeah, what does he do well other than wear a? I don't like that he's wearing the overhead turtleneck.
It's a little weird. Yeah, he has a lot of power. He has right now. I had this up. I was looking this year in 47 games he has 14 home runs already. He slugs. He's still playing catcher. So he's probably going to end up moving to first base eventually. So we'll kind of see about that, but they still have him playing catcher right now. But yeah, he rakes. That's pretty much the summary of it. He has a lot of huge home runs this season in high A. And I want to talk about these 3 at the same time because Tigers fans are very excited about these 3 together because the West Michigan Whitecaps team is very good right now. They clinched the playoff spot a few weeks ago. and we are waiting on the news for these three guys to be moved up any day now, pretty much, because Max Clark maybe not, but McGonigal and Briseño should be moved up. I mean, the only reason against McGonigal is he hasn't played as much because he started off injured, but they are playing very well. Briseño has a 977 OPS. Very excited about him. He's just defense is really a big thing, but
how far away are you from you're in Michigan. How far is this drive?
It's like 2 hours.
Oh, that's worth it. Like, you should 100%.
I really should. I keep trying to find a good time, but it's like I got work, or I need to look. Maybe they'll play in Lansing, and then I'll just go to Lansing because that's only an hour away from me.
I mean, that would be really fun to watch.
I very much should.
I'll say they're all 20. They'll sign however many autographs, and there's going to be 500 people in the stands. I love minor league.
They're actually pretty popular in West Michigan. The stands fill up a lot.
Well, when you're this good, I can believe that.
Yeah, they are very good, and they're very exciting, and they're probably going to be called up very soon.
Yeah, because I think, the Twins, they play, their high A team is in Cedar Rapids, and they just clinched their the first half season, either playoff spot or championship, and they called up one of their prospects. So I'm assuming that's what the Tigers are doing, assuming that division is set up the same, but I don't know that.
I'm assuming they're just waiting on the schedules to line up, because Erie the AA team in Erie just clinched their playoff spot, and I'm assuming they're just waiting for them both to be home at the same time or whatever, to move people up.
Okay, we'll move on. We're back to their third prospect, 55 grade overall. Best tool is his arm. Well, it's shortstop. He might actually stick there then. Then he has 60 overall power, 55 hit, decent field. 19 years old, playing in low A.
Yeah, so he was last year's first-round draft pick out of high school again. I don't have a lot to say about him, except he's looking. The shortstop is very much a possibility for him to stay at. He's done a lot of work with Alan Trammell, who's like the infield coach guy. And Trammell is his infield defense is very good. So excited about that. Don't have a lot to say about his hitting, except it looks like it could be good. But he is out for the season this year. Oh. He injured his shoulder coming back to first on a back pick type situation, and he had to get season-ending surgery. So won't be seeing him for the rest of the season, unfortunately. Yeah. But he's the kind of a guy that they have pegged as a potential 5-tool guy who maybe not for a lot of power, but could make good contact, play defense well, could run fast. So we'll see. He's 19 playing in low A. It's not really a lot to kind of go off
of. Next up, Lozano, 55 overall grade. Best tool is his power and his arm, but they're both at 60. Below average fielder and a decent hit. 55 overall prospect. Will he stick a catcher? I think that'll probably be the biggest question.
Yeah, he's still playing catcher. It's kind of a question for both him and Josue. Yeah, if they run he's the guy that we got for the Jack Flaherty trade, and people he's a switch hitting catcher with a lot of power. Yeah. Which is pretty much the big points for him. He's not exactly tearing it up in AA right now, but he just moved up to AA this year. So we'll see how that comes. But if he kind of stick to that power and if he sticks around a catcher, because he caught at spring training this year. So I think they're planning to have him stay at catcher. But he could always move. Kind of, we'll see. I think he's 20, 21. So he's still really young.
21.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. And with catcher too, I know that the Twins have done this with an Austin Martin, or they do it with Mickey Gasper now. They're fine they played Austin Martin at shortstop, even though they knew he wasn't going to be a major league shortstop, just to get the reps in. I'm going to assume if they're already playing Lozano off of catcher, they're not going to play him at all, but they'll keep the tool set warm just in case they need it, but we'll see.
I think also they've got another guy at catcher that you want Theron to play, so you put him at first so that
Yeah.
just so you can get the other catcher guy to catch. I think that's how they usually do it. Or I don't know. I think their last word on it was that they want him to still be a catcher because he came to spring training and caught with all the major league pitchers and everything. Like it was really a fun story in the off season when he was catching for Jack Flaherty but
Sure.
yeah.
I just
So
I just want to add real quick. You did say he has a 60 grade arm, so that works in his favor.
Yes.
And Lee, you said they maybe have other options in the minors, but I just wanted to mention that Dylan Dingler and his 2% walk rate isn't a long term solution. So you guys are going to need to find a different catcher down the line. So perhaps it's Lorenzo.
well, maybe Dylan Dingler is the solution. Did you think about that? And his walk rate will go up.
Well, to be
I
fair,
was making a serious point about the arm, and I had to throw it in there. I apologize.
Yeah, you're fine.
well, technically, we're all options to catch for the Tigers too. It just doesn't mean they're good options
Fair.
or a solution.
Yeah. Well, so we'll see about him. He looks like a good option coming from great trade. We'll see how he develops.
Next up, Yahoo Lee, 22-year-old in high A. He's not a marginal prospect. His overall grade is 50. His hit tool is 55.
Yeah. So we traded for him. He's what we got in return for Michael Lorenzen. He's the guy that has good defense. He was hitting very well in spring training. He's hitting pretty well in AAA right now. Not so much for power, but for contact. And he's a guy that, if needed, he could potentially come up to the Tigers. But we've got better options who have more major league experience right now, which is why he's just getting more experience at AAA. Because we've got Jace Young to come up ahead of him at second. We got Kieth and Torres. So he's a little bit blocked at second. He's like only recently moved over to third. Is the thing. But he's a guy that could be a long potential short to long term solution at third. But there's also a lot of competition for that spot.
Same questions I asked Dan. Who of that group is the most likely to be traded? Not saying it's high or that it will happen, but who is the most likely?
I would say if I had to pick, I'd probably go with Lorenzo or Brusenio, just because we can't have two catcher / first baseman at the same position. It's going to be a little bit, and especially if Torkelson ends up being a long-term solution at first, right? Or if Dingler ends up being a long-term solution at catcher, you're going to need a backup guy. But it's just more of there's a lot of depth at that spot, so you could end up trading one of those. Maybe Hal Yulee for a team that needs a third baseman or something.
But that's who popped out because he's nearly major league ready, and it sounds like there's kind of a rotation at third base anyway. But I think that would be my pick of who's likely. If it was a 1-for-1 trade, what kind of player do you think they would get back?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm not a GM.
Okay, well, never mind then. You don't answer
probably
that.
A bullpen guy that we can fix.
Fair enough.
Probably
low end starter. Would you get just a regular, if you just got a smack average third baseman?
No,
No?
we have average third baseman right now. We have
Fair
Zach
enough.
McKinstry. We'd have to get a better player than that. And I don't think any of these guys on their own would be able to get that. We'd have to put together some kind of package.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Scott Harris has said that there's no one that's an untouchable in terms of will not trade them. But I have to imagine that Clark and McGonigal, you're not going to trade those guys away because those But this is going to be the first time in a decade that Tigers were buying, and it's the first test for Scott Harris to buy instead of sell. So we'll see.
Yeah, interesting. Next up, we'll touch on them, not briefly, just because Oren isn't here. He just had a he has a difficult schedule to work with. He's a very sociable person. So the White Sox, for the first time in probably a decade, are actually in the top half of Keith Law's overall list. He wrote back in February, Chicago's system has improved dramatically in the last 18 months thanks to a couple of big trades and draft successes. Although the list drops off significantly after their top six, they still don't have the depth every team needs to fill out the back end of a roster. They have 3 former top 100 prospects that all need to get something back on track, plus 2023 first rounder Jacob Gonzalez, who hasn't looked anywhere near as good in pro ball as he did in college. This is actually one of the lower spot lower than they were last year as a result of so many guys going backward in the system in 2024. The way up, but they are way up from 2023 where they were 28th, 2023 where they were literally, and he says this, the worst, like the Bears, which is, I believe, a 30-year-old reference. So good on Keith Law.
It's still being used today. It's still the Bears.
God bless Keith Farley, or Keith Farley. Goodness, Chris Farley. They currently have 4 top 100 prospects. Either in two of them, well, one of them in the majors. Noah Schultz, I think, maybe made his debut this year, and then Double A Hagen Smith and then Braden Montgomery. Just quickly, Noah Schultz has a 60 overall grade. His best pitch is a 70 graded slider, and then he has 55 control. He's in he's in AAA right now, 3.92 ERA in 62 innings. Teal, who made his debut already this year, he's hitting not much for slugging, but he has the 767 OPS. He has a 55 overall graded prospect. He's a good hitting catcher, but he only grades out as a 55 hit, 50 overall power, and then just kind of below average from there. We'll see if that's actually his best, if he stays catch as their long-term solution. Hagen Smith, who I believe also made... Oh, actually, no, he's in Double A right now. It's really hard to gauge who's debuted for the White Sox. They've had so many of them. He's a left-handed pitcher, 21 years old, in Double A. His best pitch is actually tied. It's a fastball and a slider, which is probably the 2 most consistent pitches that are paired together. Control 50, probably has to straighten that out a little bit better, but it looks like yet another left-handed starting pitcher for the Cubs, or for the White Sox, is coming in because Schultz is also left-handed. Braden Montgomery, 22-year-old bat switch. Best overall tool is his arm. He has above average power. He's probably going to play in the corners. That would be my guess. He has 50 overall run. Looks like it's really his first full season. Pretty decent slugging. 839 OPS so far in 66 games. The other Montgomery, Colson, is in AAA. And it doesn't look like he's having that stellar of a season with a 607 OPS. He has a overall grade of 50, 55 power, 55 field. Shortstop though, so that'll play pretty well. And then finally, Grant Taylor, who is a 50 overall prospect. Best pitch is a fastball, and then has 60 graded cutter. And not much else, below average control, so we'll see if he can actually straighten that out. But right now he's in the White Sox, so he's currently has in 7 games a 2.25 ERA. So we'll see. That's about as good as the White Sox have been in a farm system in at least a decade. I don't know. Well, but that's not true because they had Luis Robert, Eloy Moncada.
I just want to point out.
Jerry screws it up this time.
I just want to point out real quick. We've been through 3 teams, the 3 highest rated prospect teams, or highest graded teams of our division. We've had 3 pitchers so far.
Yeah.
One right-handed pitcher, and he's the White Sox number 6 prospect.
And he's not marginal, but I don't think he's bound for many All-Star games.
Is the future of the AL Central going to be an offensive slugfest bloodbath? Is that what we're looking at?
No.
Is that what we're learning from this exercise?
If you take out offense slugfest and just leave bloodbath, yeah, you're probably correct.
Yeah, probably more accurate. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's
Just a thought.
Yeah, it is pretty interesting, and we kind of talked about it last week in terms of like the Tigers' depth and pitching is a little. The Tigers' pitching depth right now is depleted, but also we don't have a lot of pitching prospects. We've called those guys up, like those pitching prospects were Mize and Scooble and Manning. Those guys have come up. They're here. Manning's kind of a bust, but like we've got our pitching prospects. Now it's time to get some bats.
We did the same with Bybee and Williams and Allen, so I get it.
Yeah. I'll move on to the Twins, which it's a very interesting snippet he had for the Twins. They were 19th overall, which I thought was a bit low, but then he gives us a backhanded compliment. The Twins have the most lowercase m Midwestern system there is. They have two prospects that will look like they will be superstar in Walker Jenkins and Emmanuel Rodriguez, and a pitcher who might join them in Charlie Soto. They also have a lot of nice prospects behind them, guys who will play in the majors, have value, but probably won't be difference makers. They draft well, they develop well, they don't seem to do anything poorly. They're just kind of in the middle. It's a really nice system. They all say hi to you on the street. I want to be a little bit more excited about it. Thanks,
That's a
Keith.
fun blurb.
Keith Law trying to be funny, man. That's what I'm getting out of this exercise.
I think he was running out of things to say. Is really what happened. Currently, the Twins have 3 top 100 prospects. I'll just talk about them right off the bat. Walker Jenkins, oft injured, but when he's been playing pretty well. He did just come off of the IL. It says that he played for 3 teams in 2025. That's because 2 of those were on a rehab stint. He's just came back in the last 3 weeks, so I'm not taking his 695 OPS as anything to really worry about right now. He's a 60 overall grade. He's just solid all the way around. He has a 60 hit tool, 60 power, 60 arm, 55 field. He's playing in center field right now. Probably going to switch to a corner. He is 6'3" right now. So if all comes apart, he's a first base candidate, left-handed at bat. He got a lot of comps to Josh Hamilton because he's from West Virginia. And if anybody remembers when Josh Hamilton was coming up as a prospect, he was a monster. And then obviously drugs took over for a bit, and then he came back and became an all-star. So Emmanuel Rodriguez, I'm not all that high on, but we'll see. He is overall a 55 graded prospect. His best tool is power, but that's as far as like the 5 classic tools. His best tool is probably his eye. He has always been phenomenal at walking. He has his on-base percentage in high A was 492. He's had basically a 400 on-base percentage his entire minor league career. We just talked about earlier that the first 2 levels, up until you get to like double A, the pitchers don't know where the ball is going. So was he passive or was he selective? We don't know. When he does hit the ball, it goes a real long ways. What makes him interesting, he is as 3 true outcomes as Adam Dunn. The difference is he can play a decent center field. He has a 55 run grade and he can play it so far. Is he destined to play there? No. He's probably going to slip into a corner, but his floor might be if he can hit, 450 as a slugging percentage and hit 210. He might be a 4th outfielder for a decade, or he could be an all-star. I don't know. He doesn't hit for high average. We'll see. He's kind of overperformed, but I'd love to be wrong. Luke Keeschel, Twins have already seen him this year, and then he broke his forearm. 55 overall graded prospect. Best tool is his hit. Decent, scrappy player. They put first base here only because he was recovering from Tommy John surgery. He will not be playing first base. He's more likely to play center or second than he is to play first long term. It's just he played it because he couldn't throw last year. The Twins knew he needed Tommy John surgery a couple months before, but they apparently couldn't do more damage to it, so they let him play, I believe, until August, which was like the cutoff to where he could still have the surgery and then have a spring training to bounce back from. Came back from that and then broke his forearm. I think he's slated to be back just after the All-Star break, and boy, would he be nice to be in the Twins lineup right now.
I like how you've got 3 guys here. 2 of them have already had a litany of injuries.
Oh, all 3 of them.
Oh, all 3 of them. Okay.
All 3 of them have been on the IL this year. Emmanuel Rodriguez. What's annoying about Rodriguez is it's like his thumb or like his heel. It's not like major injuries, but it's something where you can't swing a bat and like it takes weeks to recover. But yeah, all of them have had injuries. Shocking for the Twins, I know.
Sorry to keep beating this dead horse, but like, did the Twins scouting department just like, all right, let's look at this players. Oh, he has lots of injuries. He'll be a great fit. Like, what are they doing?
Throw out the medicals. We don't need them.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't trust those dirty doctors. They're probably getting paid. They're probably getting paid.
Dirty doctors. I don't know. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. I don't think they do any less or more work for medicals than the average team. Kieth Law said that they do everything pretty well. Maybe that includes medical.
Well, they clearly need to upgrade to pretty dang good.
I mean, I don't know. It's either incredibly bad luck, but like, boy, do you maybe they've also switched their training staff 3 times in the last like 5 years.
Yeah, I'd hope they switch their training staff.
They ended up actually taking from the Athletics Nick Paparesta is their main trainer right now, who was like, I think however much weight this comes across, he won like best trainer of the year like for a couple of years. So like, does that mean anything? Probably not, but I don't.
It does not.
The
Yeah.
next step is to look at who the Twins organization has wronged in the past and see who placed a curse upon the team. Only solution.
They sold their soul for the 91 World Series. And I think since then it's just been crap. It's a good question. I'd love to know the answer. I'll go over these next couple briefly because it really does kind of take a drop off with the Twins. Kalen Culpepper, he will be on the top 100 prospect when they update it. He has been phenomenal. He just got promoted to Double-A. He had an 874 OPS, played really good shortstop, was just great in High A. He is a 50 overall prospect. There was some question if he was going to be able to stick it short, but he's been playing it pretty well. It sounds like he has good instincts and he comes in on the ball hard and all those other things they say about prospects that they can't measure it for. But I think when they drafted him as a shortstop, it was assumed he would be a third baseman, but now they're leaving that window open for him to be a major league shortstop. Connor Prelip, this was kind of they're prospects. They're all rolling the dice. When they drafted him in 2022, he entered that draft season as a top 10 overall talent, but he's had so many injuries that he ended up dropping to, I believe, the second round, the 48th overall pick. He has not been healthy since then, except for this year, and he's been really good. Probably a bullpen guy. I think they have been starting him. He's not going to be a starter in the majors. I'd be shocked. He could also be the type that if the Twins do turn this around or really need bullpen help, Connor Prelip is sitting in Double-A, probably about to be promoted here in the next little bit. He has, I don't have the strikeout to walk ratio right now, but he has above a 9 strikeout to right. And then 6th is Marco Raya, who will drop a lot. His ERA in AAA this year is 7.59. He's been in He's been inside the farm system since 2020. He was their 4th-round pick. He hasn't been that good. It's also been weird for him because he has not. He's been a starter, but actually, I'll just pull up. He's been a starter, but he has 25 starts in last year. He had under 100 innings in those 25 starts, and he had not a good ERA, but a decent one. They were only going to pitch him 4 innings at a time, and they did it not just last year, they did it the year before. He had 22 starts and 62 innings, and 19 starts and 65 innings the year before.
Why are they trying to make him a starter if he's not going past 3 or 4 innings?
I think because they signed him when he was, well, they drafted him when he was 18, and I think they must have flagged him as an injury risk, and they just were super cautious with him. Because even this year, he has 13 starts and 40 innings. I don't know if this is like...
bullpen.
I think that's probably where he's going to be, but unless, like, the Twins are going to be the first wave of, you know how, like, Dan just said it earlier, how every team has their starting pitching, like, their starting pitchers are going long or going shorter and shorter. The next evolution of pitching then is it's going to be like a 4-man rotation, but everyone's going to go 4 or 5 innings and pitch every 4th day instead of 5th day. Maybe they were trying that with him, but he hasn't panned out that well. I'm completely hypothetically. It's very weird how they've been handling him, though.
How old is Raya?
He is 22 in AAA.
He's still fairly young then.
Yeah.
I was AAA, 7 ERA. If he was 24,
yeah, it's, I mean,
he probably would have been the 6th prospect then, though.
I mean, he's going to drop. He's pitched 40 innings and he has 26 walks. That's not that's not going to work.
And now we know why he's pitching 4 innings an outing, because if you have that many walks, your pitch count is through the roof.
Yeah. Well, even
after like year 3 of that, though, they'd go like, "All right, we got to change something here.
Yeah.
Let's throw him out for another 4 innings, see if it works out this time."
Like he's just a permanent swing man, like, and that's weird. As a prospect that has some upside. I mean, he's graded as a 50 overall prospect, or was. He won't be when they update this. It's weird. I don't know. Oh, finally. Sam, you've been so patient.
Oh, that's fine. And I'll go through these pretty quickly because I think this will be a quick
Okay. I'll go over the Kieth Law thing. 22 was in their 6-2. Seems to be a big year for the Royals system. Has a lot of guys who are entering a make or break year, so to speak. It's really never too late, blah, 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 who might be entering their breakout race. Although right now the arrow is pointing down slightly. New scouting director Brian Briggs' first draft was very promising with Jack Caglione, maybe the best power hitting prospect the Royals have had in a very long time. And then he brings up Bobby Hamlin. I don't know who that is.
Long story. I'll tell you later.
Fair enough. They have a lot of arms they'd like to get on guys who haven't put it all together, although last year's 2nd rounder David Shields is probably the most high-polished high school arm they've drafted in a decade. I think the arrow is going to swing to point up by this time next year. So overall top 100 prospects, Caglione, Mitchell, and then Jensen. Caglione's in the majors. Carter Jensen is about to be, it looks like. He's only 21. That's very promising. And then Blake Mitchell is in rookie ball. He's a couple years away. And here they are. Jack Caglione.
Yeah. I'll go through these. Jack Caglione. In the majors. We all know about him. Enough said. Blake Mitchell was, I think, the Royals' 1st round pick in 2023.
Yes.
He was a high school catcher, which is, kind of a little bit of a taboo for a lot of fans. But I think he, so far in rookie ball, has looked pretty good this year. Again, he's only played a handful of games, but again, small sample size, and it's only rookie ball. Yeah. So not much to say about that.
55 overall grade prospect, 70 arm. Power 60. That's what's probably going to bring him to the majors.
Yeah. Carter Jensen has been a bit of a surprise for the Royals. He was drafted, I believe, in the second or third round a couple years ago, and he is from Kansas City, so obviously has that hometown hero story to him. He's been very good in AAA Omaha. He has had a 756 OPS in 70 games this year, so not bad. He looks pretty promising, and I would imagine that when the end of the year rolls around, he might get a little cup of coffee in the month of September.
Not for nothing. Why aren't they calling him up now? Who's their catcher right now? Fermin? No.
Salvi and Fermin.
I mean, is Fermin doing anything that Carter Jensen can't?
I mean, I don't know. It would be interesting to see. I mean, he's not lighting the world on fire in the minors, but I think he would be someone who they could call up right now if they wanted to. So,
okay.
And then moving on, Blake. I was looking at something else. Ben Kadruna. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, Kadra. Oof, those are some bad numbers in AA Northwest Arkansas. He's got a 5.53 ERA across 57 innings. So he's not looking too good.
50 overall grade. Only 55 slider, 55 changeup, 50 control. Fine, decent prospect.
Yeah. Noah Cameron in the major leagues. Enough said. Gavin Cross.
That's very good.
Gavin Cross also. Those are some bad numbers in AA.
Yeah.
Northwest Arkansas. So he was with the team in spring training this year, and I believe there was some talk of him. Some people wanted him to make the team out of spring training, but it's probably good that he didn't, seeing as how he's slashing 185, 277, and 315 in AA.
Well, he's a 45 overall grade prospect, which is already not. He's already a bench guy.
Mm-hmm. The Royals farm system has been pretty lean for the past decade. So I don't know. I think some of these guys have some promise, but I think that a lot of these guys are kind of far away outside of the two guys who are obviously in the major leagues. Yeah. But also, if two of your top 6 prospects are in the major leagues, it's a little bit,
right.
How many more bullets do you have in the chamber?
Right. So same question I asked Dan and Lee and didn't ask myself. Who's most likely to be traded?
I would say that I think probably Mitchell would be the most likely to be traded, just because it's such a small sample size and he's so far away at this point. I would say, I'd say Mitchell's probably most likely, and because they also have another catcher in Jensen. So,
right, who's closer?
Yeah, who's closer? So,
okay. Any guess on what they would get back 1-for-1 trade?
I don't think they're going to be buying, but Taylor Ward, they've wanted to get him for a little while now, so who knows? But yeah.
Okay. Any other thoughts on the minor league systems?
I wanted to shout out. He just got called up to AA few weeks ago. Kenny Serwa. He's a right-handed pitcher. He throws a knuckleball, and it's the fastest knuckleball. Yeah, so I wanted to mention him because he's really cool. He throws a really fast, like 80. I'm talking like 86, 88 knuckleball. He's got a few other pitches too, but yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Do you know if is he able to throw them from the same arm slot? Like, is he going to tip?
I don't know how exactly that works.
Okay.
I'm like really digging the mechanics of it. No, you're fine. Yeah,
I'm just curious. I've always kind of wondered why nobody's done that before. Somebody who can actually throw hard, actually throw a knuckleball too. But I've always figured it's because the delivery is different. But
what's
fun? I guess we'll find
out. Because the Twins also have, he's in AAA, Corey Lewis also throws a knuckleball, and he throws it a little bit harder. But I think he throws it in the 70s. But that'll be fun. For for a league that doesn't have any knuckleballs, I don't think anyone throws a knuckleball in baseball right now. Now the Tigers and the
Not
Twins have
regularly.
2 prospects that might be coming.
Yeah, we signed him. He was in like what's it called? Independent leagues. Yeah, we signed him in like a minor league
Yep.
deal off season because he was in one of those like pitching camps or whatever. Where they go and like show off like 30 pitches and then in front of scouts. Yeah, so he's pretty cool. He's 27. Played in college, played in independent leagues, and it just got called up to Double A after he destroyed Single A. So pretty exciting.
All right. We'll move on to the schedule.